Hello guys, and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about SPAA, focusing today on the ones that do not have any form of radar guidance. So traditional SPAAs, mostly found from the interwar period and World War II. We're going to cover firstly how to choose a vehicle and what makes an SPAA good. Then we're going to cover how to actually aim. And lastly, tips on surviving and putting it into practice. We're also doing a giveaway at the moment for members of my in-game squadron. The prize is any pack of your choice or 15,000 GE or a year of premium time or some mix of the lot. For more information on that, join my Discord or hang around until later on in the video. So smash that like and subscribe and let's get into it. So the first question, what makes a good SPAA? Because this is kind of an important question. I see a lot of people sitting in SPAAs and they just can't hit anything because of the inherent limitations of the vehicle they're in. It can really be summed up into two things: rate of fire and turret traverse. Really, it is just that simple. It's best to show it with an example, so we'll start off with a bad example, which is the L62 in the Swedish tree. And we're talking about it strictly in the anti-air role here. So I'm in a test drive with no crew skills to make it even more obvious, but as you can see, the turret rotation speed is very poor. And the fire rate of the single cannon is just 120 rounds per minute. It makes it very difficult for you to actually slew your gun onto target in time, because planes often fly past much quicker than they do in the test drive. And when you do, even if your lead is roughly correct, there are large gaps between each round, as you know, if you look into the sky. And it can be quite frustrating to have planes fly in between the gaps in your bursts. As a general rule, I would say you need at least 200 RPM to be effective. The higher the better, but it is skill dependent, obviously. Now, to see a good SPAA, we can just look at the next one in the line right after the L62, the LVKV-42. It's roughly the same size and the same profile with a similar armament of 40mm Bofors cannon. The difference is it has twice the fire rate and a significantly faster turret traverse. This turns a bad SPAA into a pretty decent SPAA. Like, as you can see, I have no trouble slowing onto targets in the test drive and clapping them. As a small trick, you can rotate your entire tank to actually speed up the traverse a bit more if you need it, you know. And the last part here we'll cover is the hangar side of things, like modification and crew skills. For modifications, make sure you prioritize horizontal drive and elevation mechanism for turret rotation speed, and then any other belts that might be better as a secondary priority. For example, on this tank, I would want to go for the HE belts. As for crew skills, there's only one that's really super important, and that is the gunner skill, targeting. As you might have noticed in the test drive, when I move the crosshair diagonally, the gunner first traverses it to the side horizontally, then traverses it vertically afterwards instead of doing it in one smooth movement. This is affected by the targeting skill. Targeting will also actually make the turret move faster as well. So this is actually a really important skill for an SPAA crew member. So this is why when I have SPAAs, I always put them on the same crew slot, because I always max the targeting first on that crew, you know, in my lineup of tanks. Okay, so let's get out the hangar and actually shoot at some planes. Well, first, we do kind of need to go over the basic principles of aiming. I'm going to start this super basic so everybody's on the same page, and then we'll get more advanced as we go along. So where do you aim? Well, let's say we have a shell that has a muzzle velocity of 1 kilometer per second, and the plane we're shooting at is 1 kilometer away. Well, we just aim 1 second ahead of the plane, raise the cannon a bit to account for the drop of the shell, and we should roughly hit the target. We can estimate the direction of travel and where to lead by drawing an arrow from the tail of the plane to the nose of the plane. This arrow will show you which direction to aim in. If the plane is turning, we move the arrow slightly in the direction of the turn to compensate. The higher the deflection of the target, the more lead is required. But if the aircraft is turning in towards us, the amount of lead that we need will gradually decrease as they turn towards us. This is why the best time to attack an aircraft is during their attack run, especially if they're firing their guns. This is because they're moving in a known direction, and most of the time they're going to be holding a straight course. Their attention will also be focused on their target, making it less likely that they're going to actually notice you or the traces of your shells. It makes it the perfect time to strike. If they are firing as well, fire at the tracers ahead of them, because they've already drawn that straight line for you with the tracer shells. Now, you shouldn't spam unless you're being directly attacked, as it gives away your position. A good pilot will either attack you or not come near you, which is going to make your life more difficult. Also, as a tip, you shouldn't just fire at the point where you think they'll be. Take that arrow and extend it out in front of the plane. You can guess your shells will land at point X along that line, but also fire in front of and behind that point along the line as well. This is because if you're wrong, a shell might still land. Because if you didn't correctly guess the lead, but you underlead and overlead a bit, then, you know, especially if you have a high rate of fire SPAA, like a 20mm that's firing 1,000 rounds a minute, you just spray shells everywhere. One of them's going to land if they're in the path of the plane, right? But in this vein, you should also be firing in controlled bursts. You know, hold the trigger down for a second or two, then use the binoculars, observe where the shells go, and then make corrections based on that. This will help you get a feel for the cannon that you're using, and for the general speed that the enemy aircraft is moving at. Just remember, try not to get too disheartened if you're making a lot of misses. This is a very difficult skill and it takes a lot of practice. Expect to miss, but aim to kill. I mean, we invented an entire fire control system or computer just to do this task for a lot of the more advanced SPAAs, right? And that tends to be the selling point of them because it's really difficult. So just keep at it and you'll be fine. For the last part here, we're going to cover strategy. So you've chosen a good SPAA, you know the theory behind aiming, well now what? Well, as we mentioned earlier, spamming is bad and it gives away your position. But you should generally also hold fire for another reason. Just that it's incredibly unlikely that even a very skilled SPAA operator will hit a target more than 2 kilometers away. Like, think about it. If that plane's 2 kilometers away, most SPAAs have a muzzle velocity between 700 and 900 meters per second, right? If they're 2 kilometers away, that's still 2.5, 3 seconds that the shell's got to travel. Like, just think about how long that is. That was 3 seconds of silence. It feels a lot longer, you know, when you think about it. And in that time, the plane could turn, they could dive, they could slow down, they could speed up. There's a whole bunch of things that plane could be doing. That means even if you perfectly predicted where they were going to be, they might not even be there because they'll have gone somewhere else. So wait for them to get close and then open fire with controlled bursts. The best strategy tends to be to push up with friendly armor. Don't just sit in spawn because they kind of expect you to be in spawn, and most pilots will generally avoid that area because they know that there are going to be SPAAs there. Plus, they want to go drop bombs on tanks. They'll go for the easy targets, right? So stay behind your allies, but push up with them. You know, generally you want to be behind a building or behind a ridge line. This means that you're not at risk of being pushed and just being shot by an enemy tank. You know, stay in cover, but stay close. Then, wait for the enemy aircraft to attack either you or your allies. Especially if you're in a closed top SPAA, I'm thinking of like the Crusader in the British Street or the Skink. From the air, you look just like a tank, so you might even get directly attacked with this strategy. Then, when they are diving in like that, they will be much closer to you because you're close to what they're trying to hit. Then, open fire when you think it's likely that you'll score a hit. A good pilot stays away from SPAA. Remember that. This is why you don't want to spam, because you want to lure them into your trap. And you should, as I kind of just glanced on earlier, you shouldn't really sit out in the open. Not just because if you're pushing up, you don't want to be in the line of enemy tanks, but because you're easier to spot from the air. When planes are flying over you and they're looking down, if you're sitting in the middle of a field, you're the only thing there. You stick out like a sore thumb. It's generally fine if they don't have a lot of planes. If they have either no planes or one plane up, you want to be out in the open because it gives you a wide field of view, preferably on top of a small hill or ridge, provided, again, you're not in the line of fire of enemy tanks. Because this will make it easy to see. You can also open up the mini-map and swap it over to the air map. This will show you where the enemy air spawn is, so it gives you a direction to look in when you're spotting people from long distance. Most people just spawn in and fly in a straight line towards the tank battlefield, making them easy to spot this way. But as the number of enemy aircraft increases, the more you're going to need to be in cover. For this reason, ridge lines, shell craters, you can get in the shell crater to make it harder for them to shoot you at an angle because you'll have a lower profile, but also buildings and even trees. While a tree isn't going to stop a cannon shell, at least the leaves definitely won't, they're probably not going to shoot you if they can't see you. And speaking of seeing, open your eyes, but also open your ears. You will hear low-flying planes often long before you see them, and if you've been watching the footage in the background, you'll have seen plenty of points where, because obviously the audio of the game is really quiet in the background, you can't hear it, but I might be able to get up a clip in the background here of me hearing a plane and then rotating to face it. This is really common. And so being able to listen is also just as important as being able to see when you're trying to, you know, spot an enemy plane. Use it as a chance to just rotate your turret in the direction you're hearing the sound and get ready for them. Obviously, friendly planes also make noise, but you'll be able to see their little blue marker through terrain, so you'll know it's a friendly. And so, if you combine all of these amazing tips, you should see an improvement in your SPAA gameplay. It won't be overnight necessarily because, again, aiming isn't an easy skill to master quickly. It needs practice. But if you use these tips, you'll be in a much better position to actually land your shots. And as for the giveaway, all the information is actually in the Discord. So if you want to check there, that's probably the best place to do so because I'll be drawing the winner in the Discord as well. So you'll probably, need to be in there so I can get into contact with you. The only other requirements for joining are to be in the squadron because, we're trying to fill out our squadron. It's already pretty full now. I think we're up to about 70 members, so there aren't that many slots left. And then just also to be a subscriber to the YouTube channel. You do those 3 things, you're entered. The maximum number of people in this giveaway is only 128, so you stand a fair chance of winning. So, thank you for coming, guys. Remember to smash that like and subscribe if you didn't already, and I will see you in the next video.